Welcome to Show and Tell 14. I always start this off by saying, or going through our vision, which is as a digital service, we will give our residents more free time by making everything that they do with the council faster and easier. And that's just a really simple way of us trying to show that what we're trying to do is deliver to our residents to make sure that what they do is as quick and easy as possible, and to keep our focus that way rather than going towards our services and looking at ourselves. That we have to constantly keep our focus on the user. I know a lot of people have been on here. A lot of people have been on here before, so I'll go through this really quickly. We work in an agile way. This means that we take a user-centered approach. We will always try and engage with services as quickly as we can. We try and pick up work and deliver as quickly and as we possibly can, in order so people can see work delivered, and then we work in an iterative process. Like I said, it starts with a minimum viable product. So we will pick up something, we will deliver those to you in pieces, and hopefully we will build up over time. Sometimes some of the work that we've been talking about will take a little bit longer to get live, and that often has to do with the making sure that the service is happy with it at the end. But we do try and take work as piecemeal as possible, so that we can make sure that we're making progress on this every single sprint. So what have we been doing in the last 2 weeks? We have been working on planning. We've been looking at the information architecture and looking at how we're going to structure that when we migrate that content. We've been looking at the internal user needs and doing some analysis on that, as well as some planning content developments. We've been working on what planning. Some of the planning content work as well. We've also been looking much wider. We have completed some of the work for admissions and for client transport, but we are looking at the school service as a wider work stream in order to try and engage that on a sort of end-to-end process, to make sure that all of our service areas are speaking to each other as well as we can make them work. And then we've also managed to start getting some campaign pages live, which I'm quite excited about. So it's good to see some new content being delivered. It looks a little bit different, a little bit more different way of working. So we'll be presenting that at the end. In between all of that, we've also got ongoing templates which are coming. We keep saying that these are coming, but they are getting closer in terms of development, which is the step-by-step navigation and find a place templates. Both of those should be ready relatively shortly. And then also we have a district postcode lookup, which will direct people to the relevant district area a little bit smoother than we have done in the past. And combined with, as I said, the parking and school transport, that's all with the services. In order to make sure that they are happy with the content, and we should be publishing those as soon as we can manage. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to Caroline to talk about our first point, which is the planning of the information architecture.
Thank you, Colin. We can move to the next slide for me. So within planning and building, we've been focusing a lot on creating user journeys. So So the next step was to make sure that we structure all of that content based on user needs. So how we combine, say, all of the journeys that we put together to make sure that they're seamless. So the first thing I did, I needed to make sure that they were based on user needs in terms of the priority. So what you see here is a list of the user needs based on the Google Analytics data. This just helps to provide information about what pages and what journeys are the most popular types of content. So that helps us to prioritize the content. And so move over to the next slide for me. And in this slide here, it just puts everything in order. So looking at all the journeys, how can we structure those journeys based on the popularity of what users are going to the site for. So this is it's in a spreadsheet. It's all documented. So this has been passed over now to the council, and they can use this as a tool to so whenever, for example, we want to add in a new piece of content and there's a discussion around do we prioritize content A over content B, hopefully we can always refer back to this spreadsheet and look at the data and see what's the highest priority, and therefore it would help to structure that content. We also looked at the labeling of the content types too, and this is all being documented. It's not to say this is set in stone, so it will change over time, and as it should be, because it will grow, the site will grow organically. So if we move over to the next slide. So just to put it in pictures of what this looks like. So the first level IA with the 3 tiles at the top with the content items below. So that's all being structured based on data. So basically this is the visual representation of the spreadsheet that I showed you before. So in terms of where we are now, we've put all these journeys together, and it's all being structured based on this IA. And Louise and Eva will be talking through a little bit about that in the upcoming slides. So I'll pass over. I believe it's Louise. Oh no, it's Johnny first, and then Louise will talk about this in the upcoming slides.
Thank you, Caroline. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, Colin, can you put the next slide up for me, please? Yeah, it's just an update on what Caroline and I have been doing over the last few weeks. And we'd just like to start by saying thanks again to everybody who spoke to us and for all your energy and enthusiasm. It was really interesting to get all of your opinions on this. Obviously, PDFs is an important topic, and for some people, it's a essential part of their daily working life. So we appreciate that you're very busy, but it was really, really useful. Also, it helped us get some context about how our website work fits in with the wider strategic goals of the council, and also informed some of the content that's been written at the moment as well. So that was great. So over the course of a few weeks, Caroline and I spoke with 15 team members, and we looked about how and why PDFs are used on the website and other issues that PDFs link to. Obviously, we don't look at any of this in isolation. So it was interesting to talk with you about ideas around general accessibility, democracy, planning and document storage, which was really, really helpful. We also noted all concerns and suggestions around this topic. We realised that it's important, and we picked up fairly early that there were some concerns about replacing a system with another one without explaining why, or making sure that any system that we put in place is better than the one that we've got. So it was good to have those conversations. So thanks for everybody for sharing their opinions on that. After that, then Karen and I got together and we had a workshop where we analysed the findings, and we agreed the key insights based upon them. So next slide, please, Colin. So yeah, by grouping all the findings that we had from the interviews, we started looking at a few major areas, and these were around how internal users are using the website and exactly what part of their workflow that takes part in, how often people are using PDFs, and the value that they've got. And then we looked again in more detail on how internal users feel about PDFs on the website. There's quite a lot going on this because it's a system that people are familiar with in some ways. There are accessibility problems. There's a mentality there that it's always been used. So there are lots of interesting things for us to look at. And then we went on to look at user needs in the document storage system, because as we've mentioned in previous show and tell, then Bucks Council, like all major organisations, face considerable challenges around document storage. So we looked at which document storage systems are being used, other ideas that we could use in their place, and ideally, if you could wave a magic wand, what the perfect document storage system would look like. Then we went on to look at ways to better meet internal user needs. So we were looking at other ways that we could help you do your job better, and we were looking at how we might perhaps champion a new approach within the organisation as well. So these are the findings that we've been looking at the moment, and so yeah, so that's where we are at the moment. Caroline, is that fair, would you say?
Yes, yeah, so on mute then. So yes, I think you summarised that pretty well. And then this slide here just shows the insights of the plan that we're going to take forward. But it's all we're just having internal discussions about what MVP would look like and what the long-term plan would look like on how we document all the PDFs going forward. So those discussions are currently taking place, but right here we've got the analysis to help us make those decisions.
Thanks very much. And that's us, Colin. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Okay, I think we're going to have Eva. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thanks very much, Colin. No, that's fine. First slide, please. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of what we have been doing over the past few months and pretty much where we are now. So initially, when we started the project, we did lots and lots of research, tons and tons of research, speaking to services team leads. We ran discovery sessions, speaking to you about your service, what you wanted to see more of or less of, what you thought the pain points were for your users as well. We analysed metrics. We looked at search terms, and all of this data and information helped to inform the content plans that we came up with. We also ran a content audit looking at PDFs. You've just heard mention of the PDFs and how big a thing it is for all of the services and planning and building in particular, and looking at how many of them there are. Do we still need them? And what the best solutions are to the ones that we still need, and how best to store and house them. So all of that information, along with the content audit, help feed into us creating these 4 content plans. So what we have here are these main themes. We've looked at all the journeys and the transactions and the things that users do when they come to the planning and building part of the Bucks website. So what we came up with were building and improving your property, having a say in reporting issues, planning policy, and other planning and building content. So there are the 4 content plans that we've devised from all of the work that we did. Next slide, please, Colin. So for building and improving your property, we looked at 257 legacy pages across the website. And all of that data and insight led us to come up with 10 refreshed journeys, as you can see listed here, that extracted the key journeys, the key data from all of those pages. What are the things that people come to the site to do? What are the top activities, the top transactions, the top pages that they view, the high traffic pages? And from that, we were able to extract that these 10 journeys are the ones that captured all of that key information and those key journeys that users want to make when they come to the website. Next slide, please, Colin. Next content plan, having a say in reporting issues. And similarly, we looked at 43 legacy pages from across the website, looked at how they performed, the data that was captured, the type of journeys that were included within those, and we came up with 6 refreshed journeys. And as you can see, within them are some of the high volume ones that we know that users focus on, in particular view planning applications, reporting a planning breach, and we have some of our policy documents in there as well, statement of community involvement and the planning enforcement and monitoring plan. The image there that you can see is one of the refreshed journeys, a viewer planning application journey that we're currently working on, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to publish shortly as well. Next slide, please, Colin. Planning policies, the name suggests, is all of our policy documents, and within there tons and tons of PDFs, and also lots of really interesting and useful information, statutory information that we have to publish. And they may not necessarily be high volume pages, but they're still important pages. Some of them we have to publish, and we need to make sure that they are available and that they're easy to navigate for our users as well. So in order to come up with these 4 refreshed journeys, we looked at 357 legacy pages across the website. They formed part of our audit, a huge part of our audit, because we needed to understand what was on the page, what information is there, and how useful it still is. Has it been updated? And how best to present that information, whether it's to residents, whether it's to members of the public, campaign groups, the media, whoever it may be, they still need to get this information. And we need to ensure that we're presenting it in the most user-friendly and accessible way possible. So within here, we have tons and tons of development plans. We've got policy information, but it's all stuff that feeds into and helps to make the other journeys and information that we present in other parts of the website useful. And it gives context and background information to the other activities that our users need to complete. Next slide, please, Colin. No? There we go. Thank you very much. So for other planning and building content, we have 2 key journeys in here. So using our building control and planning services and requesting a search on a property that you're buying, 2 very, very key journeys for our users when they come to our section of the website. We also have information on the Council Design Awards, the Buckinghamshire Council Design Awards, which happens once a year, and also our regional and national projects as well. So again, the type of information that people may not necessarily want to read about or look at every single day, but we still need to ensure that it's widely available and it's accessible, and that when people do click on these pages and journeys, that they're easy to navigate. They can find their way around really, really easily. So in order to come up with these refreshed journeys for this particular content plan, we looked at 87 legacy pages across the website. So an example here of the Buckinghamshire Council Design Awards, the next one is taking place next year, I believe. But what we have is an index. And if you are going to go in and have a look at what happened last time the design awards were held, you'll be able to do so a lot more easily now. You can jump around to different sections, you can flick forward and backwards, and you can get all of the information in a slightly more digestible format. It's a very long document, there's a lot of information in there, but we need to make sure that for people that do land on this page, it's easy for them to get the information that they need to. So in terms of overview, that's what we've been working on. We're hoping that we're going to be able to start publishing some of the pages very, very soon. And I'm going to pass over to Louise, who's going to give you a short demo of some of the journeys that we put together.
Thanks, Eva. Louise, do you need me to hand over?
Yes,
control?
Please, Colin.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Right, can you see my screen? Excellent. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration of how the planning and building control content is going to look when it's published. So this is actually our content prep server at the moment that you can see. Everything will appear like this, but on the main Buckinghamshire Council website once it's migrated over. So this is what we use to basically mock up the content, so it appears just as it does on the main website. So you can click through, everything acts exactly the same. So what we've got here are the 3 main tiles for the different journeys, different themes. I'm just going to do a quick demo of a couple of our journeys just so you can see how it all works. So if we just go through, first of all, view a planning application. So I'll just click into this. We can see here that we have our contents. We've got an inline index here. So the user can either jump to whichever section is relevant to them, or they can use the next button, which is at the end of each section, just to click through to the next one. So as we can see here, the user can easily search for planning applications on their area of public access. This will all be streamlined in the future so that it is hopefully just one button or a postcode lookup, but at the moment we're listing all the 3 different links for the different areas. On to the next section. This is where the user can comment on a planning application, and we've also got some guidance here. It takes you out to another page just to explain exactly how you can comment, what you can and can't comment on, different areas in public access as well, different services that public access offers. So that leads them out to there. And we've also got another section here, how we consider your comments. So again, we just list all the different reasons why you should comment and what the council used to consider them as well. And back to this one. Sorry, I've jumped forward. Bear with me for a second. Okay, back here now. So the last section of this journey, view a planning application, is view older records, application records. Anything that we've got in bold here, we're still working on. We're going to be rewording this just before it goes live. So we're hoping to publish this very soon. And that's the first of our major journeys, the high volume journeys. A second one I'm going to show you is on building or improving your property. And as you can see, you go through to another section here. The aim is eventually to not have tiles on these index pages, so everything is of equal importance. Again, that's something that's in development. So what we're going to do now is just take a quick look at apply for planning permission, again, one of the major journeys for users. As you can see, it's another inline index, so the user can just jump to whichever section they need. We signpost the users over to the planning advice services quite a lot in these journeys. These are the discretionary services. And as you can see here, we've got the list of all the different services: planning advice, highway studying, environmental specialist services, etc. So the user can just jump down to that section, and then they can choose what they want to look at and all the fees. Again, this is another page we're hoping to publish very soon. So back to this journey. Off to when we need planning permission. We link out to gov.uk quite a lot just to have further details, really, so we don't clog up the page. So we signpost a lot to this website. We also link out to the planning portal, so when the user has to apply for planning permission, this is where they go. And again, we're linking over to the planning applications, the fees pages as well. And then reasons why you may not need planning permission. Again, more information on gov.uk and linking over to our discretionary services as well. And then finally, what happens after you've applied for planning permission and how decisions are made. And more information on gov.uk if they need it. And how to amend the planning application if you need to. Again, leading over to our discretionary services. And finally, getting your decision. So that's how it's going to look when it's all live. Hopefully this is going to be published very soon. We'll give you more information about that probably on the next show and tell. Thanks very much, Colin. I'll unshare my screen.
Thanks, Liz. Mine on again.
This is me. Hi, folks. Yeah, if you go to the next slide, Colin. Yep, so this is just an update for the schools work stream. As Colin mentioned before, this is all about building on the good work that's already been taking place within the service areas. So that's the admissions content, client transport content, SEND content, and adding appeals into the mix. And so what we've been trying to do is get all these groups into the same room and understanding where the kind of user interacts with or gets handed over between these services and where the different obstacles may be in that journey. So we've been having a couple of workshops in the past sprint, and you can see the results of the workshop on the right hand side there. Purpose of this has been to understand that, you know, as is end-to-end journey with some of the key dates in the timelines, starting to build the user needs, thinking about the channels in which those are delivered, and maybe some of the difficulties or pain points that kind of come about. So this is from, you know, an internal perspective. These workshops are with the teams that are delivering it. So we're kind of aware of that and aware that we need to check that with users. So our next step, and we've already started, in fact, is to talk to residents, to parents that are going through the secondary school process and sort of reconcile that against this. We've been conducting interviews today. We've got a bit of segmentation, so we're looking at both 2020 and 2021 intake, and that's because, you know, the end-to-end journey is actually pretty long. It's almost a year and a half from the very first point of contact to, you know, the child starting school. So we're trying to get a broad kind of overview by having those two intakes, and we're also looking at some segmentation around, you know, folks that have had to appeal and what their experience is, parents with an SEND child, folks that are using Bucks Transport, to try to get as many different perspectives and potential variations in that journey as possible. So yeah, that's what we're up to. And we've also said there that we're also doing a session with appeals, as they weren't available for the first workshops, but we'll be building on what we've got so far with a follow-up workshop. So that is it for that slide. Yeah, and so yeah, something I thought I'd mention is just some kind of early findings that came out of those two workshops and the conversations we've been happening so far. So this is some findings, maybe some some pain points that we'd like to, just flag up. They could be, they're just kind of early days at this stage, and they may change, but it might be worth sharing. So some overall findings that aren't specific to any of the service areas. There's this view that the main communication should be through the council, although, for quite a bit of the journey, actually, the council is not aware of the parents until they apply. And so details are kind of kept by the schools, and they're reliant on the schools for those details. And this leads on to, some of the ownership of these stages is not so aligned with those that have the agency to sort of deliver them, which may be something that, we could do a bit more probing and understand a bit more. Another point is that parents applying late results in going through a paper application, I understand, and that kind of incurs some admin time. It also maybe is a different experience for the parent themselves. Next point is there's a lot of inquiries through the contact us forms about things that should be easy to find on the website, and so that may result in looking through those inquiries and understanding which ones maybe could be solved by content design and moving the content around. The next point is a bit of an observation, really, that throughout these kind of conversations, there's been this talk of the school gate effect. That is, people talking with other people, word of mouth being the way of sharing information. This can lead to kind of incorrect understanding of how it works. So things change from year on year, maybe even within the year. And so how do we bear that in mind when we're presenting content and maybe update parents where it's necessary? The next one is content in multiple places, so even in a single channel. So just looking at the digital channel, there are a number of touch points, there are a number of web pages, and this is kind of pointing towards a hypothesis of maybe there should be a one-stop shop or a go-to place where parents can go to find this information that isn't scattered about, so you need to bookmark certain pages. And then on the SEND side, again, these are kind of early findings. The SEND process follows the same steps, but there are different timelines, content and channels, and we need to make sure that's clear where SEND parents should go at each stage. There's also the reliance on SENCOs, but not always having capacity within schools. And finally, the SEND process isn't formally documented online, and that could be quite an easy quick win. Could be to publish the timelines for that journey as well. So I will leave it there and move on to the next section. Thanks.
Okay, so we have the campaign pages. Michael.
So I'm going to share my screen in a second as well, but we're going to go through a new page type that we have available on Wagtail. So this is campaign pages. If you can move to the next slide, I'll just talk for a few bits before actually demoing. So the actual purpose of this type of page is to give something a bit more visual, because on the rest of the website we've we abide by the government rules for styling. It means that we don't have many images, and we should only really use images when it's absolutely necessary. So this is it gives an option to do something more visual and eye-catching for short-term campaigns, initiatives and schemes, all of that sort of thing. So I will share my screen now. If you could just let me know if you can see it. I saw I wasn't looking at the Teams window at the time. Can you see it? And I didn't hear anything.
Not yet.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay. Let me try again.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, cool, perfect. Sorry about that. Right, so this is the page, or this is rather the first campaign page that we've got. This one is live now. So the page itself, as I said, it's more of a visual, or rather it's got some more visual elements that we don't have access to on the rest of the site. So it has some different ways to display images, and it also has some specific rules that it's got to follow as well. So I'll show an example on, this is the actual live page, but I will show an example on a drafted version that we've got of just what you can do with images. So the actual specific type of element that it's called is media with subheading and paragraph. So it allows you to have the image which takes up less of the page and has a nice sort of subtitle and then some actual text beside it as well. So it helps to break up the page nicely. We didn't actually go with this particular style on the live page because it didn't quite work, because it's not got a huge amount of content on this specific page. The other things that the page has to have is at least 3 sections, because when you put in 3 sections, it automatically creates these 3 anchor links at the top. So they will take you down to the specific section that it's linked to. The other important thing to say is that this, or rather these types of pages, they sit outside of the normal navigational structure of the website. So they can't be searched for and you can't reach them through the navigation. So you see there's no breadcrumb on here. This is because they're for campaigns. They're not necessarily meant to be searched for. They're meant to be like utilized and promoted through social media, email campaigns and all of that sort of thing. And that is pretty much it. So yeah, it's just a nice visual tool, something a bit more eye-catching, and primarily for short-term campaigns. I will stop sharing.
That's really interesting. I think it's nice to see some slightly newer templates being displayed on the website, and we've been talking about this for a long time. So it's good to see it being used in anger and seeing it with real content, because it's all well and good using a sort of idealized content, but once we start using it, I think we've got a couple more coming in the not too distant future as well. So yeah, it's a tool which we're hoping our comms colleagues in particular will make more use of in the future. Okay, so I'm not going to share my screen again because all it says is questions. Liz, I know you've sent through a few around SEND, and it looks like Lawrence has responded to you. Is there anything specific you'd like to raise?
Well, sort of Anne Ellis is the lead for the SEND local offer in the council, and because we've got the statutory duty to actually sort of deliver that. Obviously, our SEND pages are MVP. Our directory also has all the schools, whereas the main admissions directory doesn't list special schools. And on our schools directory, there's also local offer sort of questions. So we've got the ARPS, we've got the sort of the PRUs, mainstream. We've worked with the SEMH group as well to include that sort of information on our website. So I think when it comes to the SEND side of the process, we probably need to be involved. Because, as I said, ours has started MVP, and the biggest issue where we found information sort of lacking in terms of coming from colleagues is for transport, and it's a very emotive issue as well.
I think that's something that we were picking up on, and it's the handover between our 2 sites. Obviously, having two sites creates a disconnect between 2 areas. So that was something that Lawrence was picking up on, I think, when we were speaking to the SEND team last week.
I think. Sorry, the thing is that there's no SEND, shall we say, section, because obviously when you go onto a mobile, it's only the top heading that actually appears. You don't get the 3 sort of top pages sort of within it. So a lot of people access via mobile. So there's no clear SEND link in where you can find anything to do with SEND into, when you land on Buckinghamshire Council.
Yeah, so like I say, it's the handover between these 2 areas which we were looking at. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to include everything together, to make sure that people got a handover at the right point to over to the content that you've created. I don't think that we would be, if this is a sort of a general schools discovery, so I don't think we're proposing at this point to make specific changes, but really it's really about that, working out where that handover is and making sure that we present it in the correct way. I
think the biggest issue is, because we had a queer SEND, is because we've obviously had the schools directory and we've got the special schools and ARPS, and worked with the iSEND team, and it says, statement of needs and the links to the statutory annual SEN report the schools have got to legally publish, is that there's 2 sort of directories of information. One run by admissions, which shows like the the Ofsted links to apply, and ours, which is more about the school information. But also with the local offer, SEND there's a statutory duty to actually sort of co-produce it. and there's various impact groups, etc. that Anna Ellis, who's the lead for the council, is on, and I'm on also. So it's just making sure that we get the links right, the flow backwards and forwards.
Liz, this is really great. I think it might make sense to have a conversation outside of show and tell, like with yourself.
Yeah, because there's certain things in code of practice which you have to offer. And we're due a send inspection soon, so we're literally been on the hit list for the since before COVID. So every Monday or Tuesday we're doing a deep breath because we're down to about the last 5 nationally. So don't do it too major. I'll just put a link to send on the main site so they can find us if the inspectors come. Apparently there's a peak in analytics before they make the phone call. Ofsted.
Okay, we'll bear that in mind.
All right, thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Is there anyone else have any questions? Obviously, feel free to contact myself or anyone else in the team if you want to follow up on anything. But if there is nothing else, thank you very much. Thank you all for attending. It's really good to see so many people here.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.